historical markers were placed on Clemson University's campus to begin the effort of telling Clemson's true and full history. Located at the corner of South Palmetto Boulevard and Furnace Street, next to Lowry Hall, these two markers are placed on either side of the same side, one side reading Clemson College Convict Stockade, and the other Fort Hill Slave Quarters. I believe they were placed on the same sign because, as stated on the marker, the convicts were responsible for dismantling the stone slave quarters in 1890. The Convict Stockade marker stood out to me because until beginning this project, I was unaware of any association between Clemson University and convict labor. On this marker, it reads, in 1890, convicted laborers, mostly African Americans with sentences ranging from 2 months to life, were jailed in a prison stockade nearby. They cleared land and made and laid bricks. They also dismantled the stone slave quarters to use as foundation for Clemson College's earliest buildings, including the chemistry building, main administration building, and faculty residences. This history regarding the convicts was uncovered by Clemson professor Rhonda Robinson Thomas, who found a lot of her information from the state archives. The use of convict labor was common in this time period, where states would lease out groups of convicts to various industries, and these men would partake in work such as mining, building railroads, and building bridges. This cost businesses a minimal fee, and even after paying for the convicts' food, board, and transportation, it still cost a fraction of paying a fair wage for labor. Clemson made use of convict labor from about 1890 to 1908. After the Civil War, the state had limited resources, and since there was no real need for another college, there was little funding given to the building of the university. This led Clemson to turn to cheap convict labor. In total, there was about 572 men, 543 of which were African American. These men were responsible for building well-known buildings on campus, including Hardin and Tillman Hall. These men cleared the land, built a dike, and molded about 1 million bricks, which now make up Tillman. As the marker says, the convicts lived in stockades, place where now the Strom Thurmond Institute is located. However, what the marker doesn't say about the convicts is also very important. These leased convicts were only a step away from sharecroppers and slaves at the time, and legally, they were considered slaves of the state. Boys as young as 12 years old were among these convicts used, and most of the crimes they were convicted for involved theft, most of which was petty. In an article by Lynn Riddle for the Greenville News, she writes about a 13-year-old African-American boy named Wade Foster, who was among these men at Clemson. He stole just $6 worth of clothes from the home of Victoria Caldwell, a white woman. For this, Wade was sentenced to 6 months of hard labor. This historical marker is a step in the right direction in telling Clemson's full history. However, it leaves out information regarding the conviction and demographic of these men. The information on the sign focuses on what the men did in building Clemson, but not as much on how many of them faced unnecessarily long sentence time in proportion to their crimes, and the conditions of the stockades. The tone of this marker is strictly factual. For its target audience of the general public at Clemson, this marker is successful in giving the viewer a basic understanding of this part of Clemson's history, and its position as an official historical statement gives it credibility to the viewer. Overall, while markers like this one around campus are addressing some of the darker history Clemson has, they are not digging deep enough. Many stories and names like Wade Foster are still hidden in the past. It is our job as Clemson students to understand this university's past, because even once we graduate, we will still carry its name with us wherever we go. Reading and understanding these historical markers, like the Clemson College Convict Stockade, are important first steps in the process. However, to get to the full story, it will take some researching on your own. Hopefully, by partaking in this, we can uncover Clemson's full story.